Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Trust and Believe. I'm your host, Shaun T, and today we are going to enhance your ability to trust and believe by finding, having, and just inviting vitality into your life. I have an incredible guest today that's literally been a really strong force in my journey. As all of you know, I'm on a new kind of fitness journey that is enhancing my life. And Jonathan Herzog has been in the medical marketing industry for the past 8 years. And recently, Jonathan took over business operations for Dr. Herzog's New Age Med Spa and renamed it Herzog Vitality Center, which I had the opportunity to go to, and I'll tell you a lot about that in a minute. Jonathan feels very fortunate to continue giving patients vitality and better quality of life, and I want you to have some too. So get ready to trust and believe.
Somebody say hell yeah!
No. What's up?
He's better than Oprah.
Come on, y'all!
This is Shaun T, and it's time to trust and believe.
All right, so I got to start with a little testimonial really fast, and then you're going to hear a lot from Jonathan. I have a lot of questions for him. The main reason why I want to start with a testimonial is because I am a walking billboard for the help that Herzog Vitality Center offers people. First, I'll say I have to give a major shout out to my friend, Mcallister. A lot of you know her. She's done some intermittent fasting posts for me. She's also done some intermittent fasting podcasts with me. And she's also a fellow naked coffee picture taker with me, which is kind of really funny. But she's a really great friend. And so post-surgery, she saw that I was going through a healing process. And she introduced me to Herzog Vitality Center, introduced me to Jonathan. I had no idea what I was getting myself into, but I really trust her, especially when it comes to medical and hormones and all of the things that make us feel really great every day. And so when she introduced me to Jonathan, I don't even think I asked many questions. I was like, let's do this. So the first thing I started with was some peptides, which I thought was really great. Some that helped make me heal, then others that made me feel stronger and recover faster. And then through more conversation and a visit to Dallas, where I went to Herzog Vitality Center, that's where I got introduced to testosterone therapy, which completely changed many parts of my life, my mood, my sexual health, something that a lot of men don't talk about. And also, I just want to say, even though I'm a man and I'm coming to you with a male testimonial, Herzog Vitality Center does so much for women. It is absolutely incredible. And I just want to introduce Jonathan. Jonathan, thank you so much for being here. And I want to start out by saying thank you first and foremost. But besides what I already mentioned about you, can you tell people a little about you and, you know, how you kind of got into the medical field to begin with?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me on. It's good to see you. We got to get you back down to Dallas ASAP, right?
Yes.
It's great to be here. So I kind of started out, as most people do after undergrad, not really sure what they want to do. I loved fashion, so I started doing that. And then I kind of realized, hey, I love marketing, and I think I need to be, in that space. Maybe I need to get my MBA. And from there, I started to align myself with the medical field. My dad was a doctor. He had been an OB-GYN for 40 years in this area. And so it was really natural to me. And I got recruited right out of graduating from my MBA to go work at a large corporate medical device facility and run their marketing, which was really insightful. Did that for about 4 or 5 years. And to kind of answer the question of how do I work with the Herzog Vitality Center? Obviously, I'm a Herzog, but I can't claim that I'm the founder, right? There's more to that story, and that falls with my dad. So this can help maybe some of your women followers to help understand why we're so devoted to women's health. Is really, it comes from my father being the advocate for women here as an OB-GYN for 40 years. And as that process happened, he's delivering a lot of babies, he's helping with gynecology, and then we see the life cycle of the female and what happens as they age. Well, you're going to see perimenopause, you're going to see menopause, you're going to see postmenopause. And a common thread amongst doctors is once that happens, out of all of their training, out of all of their MDs, their credentials, they weren't really trained on how to treat that for women. I mean, it's honestly a little bit ridiculous. So my dad saw that hole, he saw that gap, and he really devoted, I would say, the last 20, 25 years of his life to be able to understand hormone treatment, right? To better help people not feel crazy, to help them feel great again, to feel like that restored youth that you once had. And so he carried that on and was one of the first people in Dallas to really be an advocate for women. Because you've heard of low T for men, right? I know you have. But in terms of women, there's a lot more complexity. And unfortunately, about 3.5 years ago, he passed away, which then kind of, me and my brothers, we kind of got together and we were unsure of how to go about this. We have thousands of patients that need help, right? What happens when a doctor passes away? How do you continue on? And so we had to really navigate that process. My oldest brother at the time was a psychiatrist. He was too busy. Next brother down was a lawyer. He was too busy. And it made sense for me it was really exciting for me. I really, really wanted to continue this on and continue on his legacy. So I took over business operations. I renamed it the Herzog Vitality Center. And since then, we've continued on that therapy with staff that he trained. And we've gotten a little bit better even, and really just helping people feel good longer so that they can do all the things they want to do, so that they can feel good about themselves. So that's kind of how I'm in this world now. And I'm extremely, extremely grateful because every day we get to make people feel great. We give them the vitality they thought they lost.
Including me. I think that, one of the things I do want to jump right into women's health, because I think that, I definitely could have a full conversation about men's health as well. Right. But I think that one of the things that Melissa told me, which was extremely profound, and one of the things that I remember when we actually visited the center, was just how she talked about her sex drive. And she was just like, my husband is, super sexual. And she was just like, I wasn't there. And right. Coming there and getting treatment from you guys. And she was just like, it just was like a 360. And I think that that's the reason why I kind of want to discuss that, is because it's not just about the sex drive, but it's also about the mood. And I think that even conversations we had when you would check in on me, which I absolutely love. And I want to say to people that, when you hear Jonathan say he loves it, like he really loves it. He's a great listener and easy to talk to. Cause I remember saying some stuff to you that I was like, oh, I never really talked about this with anybody before. But, so, speaking to Melissa and having an opportunity to talk to you, let's dive into women's health. And because I want people to literally reach out to you and understand, like, these are some of the things that they're feeling, and these are some of the things that you can help with. Now, I think a lot of people know what vitality means, like improving your mood, improving your energy, improving your happiness. What are some of the signs and symptoms or things that women and or men might be experiencing that, they may not even know that this is a big issue? Because I think a lot of times we go through life and we're saying, oh, well, we're tired because I work a lot, or I feel low energy because I have a lot of kids, or I'm not sexual because or whatever the case may be. What are some of those signs and symptoms that people might see?
Yeah, I would say the top 3 that we see is definite fatigue, but this is a different type of fatigue. this isn't, 2 p.m. in the afternoon, I need a coffee, or when I wake up. It's really just there is very little room for motivation, right? It is constantly more on the exhaustion side, and where people can't do everything they want to do in a day, like just go run errands. Like they'd rather just sit on the couch. There's various degrees of that, of course, but the next one, honestly, can be itching. That can mean estrogen levels are doing a little something, something. Estrogen also controls a lot of activity in the brain. It gives it energy. And so when we lack that energy and our estrogen starts to go down, we can see a lack of control of body temperature. So hot flashes, night sweats, trouble sleeping, and a lot of brain fog. And it can scare people because you feel like you're either crazy, or you stop remembering things when it's really not your personality or your brain. It's just a function of your hormones. So those are big. And then obviously sex drive. Can't tell you how many women, and I understand it's a sensitive subject. They're like, I love my partner, I love my husband, but I just do not want to have sex. It could be painful. I have zero motivation, zero sexual fulfillment. I gotta have something. We have women just come in crying because depressed. Depression and anxiety can be a root cause from hormone deficiency. Really, lack of sleep. If you want to see things that maybe before you get to that extreme, would be lack of sleep, and just feel like you're not recovering like you used to. Your body isn't responding as well as it used to. Those are signs of hormone deficiencies. When we're younger and when we're at our peak, we can respond. I think that's a good way to think of it. How is my body responding to just life? And if it isn't responding well, that's a great first step.
I didn't actually realize that my energy was low, my mood was low because of my hormone levels until I got my hormone levels fixed, until I got the testosterone pellets. And, it was I definitely had a combination of shoulder surgery, not having a place to live. I mean, not that I didn't have a place to live, but living with my in-laws and not having my own space was definitely. So I had all these life stressors, and I was blaming everything on the life stress and not really, I didn't get the blood work to realize, like, holy shit, like, there's a lot of other stuff going on here, or maybe one major thing that's going on here that really made me want to, or that made me feel that way. And then I'm like, oh, well, this is cool. Like, now I can tell people about it. So I just kind of want to give people a process of the experience. I mean, I had my experience, but when people come in and you guys do an assessment, what is the process that people go through? Because I think people are going to want to try to figure out, okay, because a lot of people are afraid. I want to say that
Right.
first. I think a lot of people are afraid health. They're afraid to know if anything's wrong. They're afraid to admit that something's wrong, especially when it comes to like the sexual side. It's, because that's a conversation with themselves, a conversation with their partner, their spouse. They have to, it's vulnerable. And so I just kind of want to help them understand the process so they know that this is a process that's going to help them out.
Absolutely. Yes. First of all, we definitely understand this is sensitive stuff. You opened up to me, which I really appreciate. And I'm really grateful that you were strong in that vulnerability, because the more we understand, the better we can treat you, right? The better we can really understand what's going on. Because I think a big mistake in the hormone realm these days is, one, you have doctors, right, that don't specialize in this, because it really isn't a specialty. It kind of just created one. And so without them understanding where you're at with your hormones, they typically would just prescribe you something, because that's what they do, right? Pharmaceuticals, they prescribe. But really understanding your symptoms, understanding what's going on with you mentally, and then we put that together with the blood work, right? So initially, first steps would be, let's come in, tell us what you're feeling. What does it feel like to be you, right? What's holding you back? What does your ideal look like? And we hear, just a lot of times it's just symptom based, right? Like, I just really need to get rid of these night sweats. I need to want to have sex again. I need to find some joy again. I feel very insecure about my body right now. I don't want to go out in a bathing suit. I don't feel sexy, right? So that really helps us. And then we juxtapose that with some detailed lab results, right? And we can really kind of start to see what is causing what. Another mistake that I see with hormone therapy these days is they really just look at 3 hormones: testosterone, estrogen, progesterone, just testosterone for men. But the reproductive organs and female anatomy it's a lot more complicated than just 3 levels, right? And you could see that when we talked about yours, right? There's a lot of other factors that can contribute to some symptoms like alcohol, caffeine, or stress. Cortisol levels are up a little high. We can't regulate that because you're going through some really difficult times. You were out of your comfort zone. You didn't have a house. A lot of things were changing, which can cause cortisol to rise. So there's a lot of different factors. Your vitamin D level, that really helps you absorb testosterone better, right? So if your vitamin D is low, which everyone's is, you're not going to be able to really use that testosterone well. You're not going to be able to use those hormones that we're putting in. Now, as we're looking at the blood results, right, and we're going through your symptoms, we can kind of start to see where we need to go, right? Because some people want to go here, right? Other people are just like, I just want a little boost, right? I just want to feel like myself again in the bedroom. I've noticed a little decline, and it's just not all there. It's 70% of what I used to be able to do, and it's making me insecure. Okay, that's good to know. Your testosterone is here. That would suggest here, but also we got to worry about your thyroid down here. And thyroid is another piece of the puzzle here, because you could have low thyroid, which would demonstrate all of these symptoms when it wouldn't be your hormones. So you got to look at the full picture. So that would be kind of the 1 and 2 step, is understanding what it's like to be you. What does it feel like to be you? And what are we struggling with? Where do we want to go? And then let's take a look at the lab results. And then from there, we can project out a plan where we use peptides, which we gave you as well, and hormone therapy treatment, specifically bioidentical hormone replacement therapy. And then it's really checking in. How are you feeling? Because, for example, one person, we could get their testosterone up in terms of a good number, right? But maybe they don't feel it because there's another factor that we need to tweak, right? So I think that's really crucial for what we do, is we are here to hold your hand, guide you along the way to make sure that we're maximizing your vitality. Mm-hmm. And any place that says we can balance your hormones in 10 days is just full of it. First of all, what does even balancing mean? What we're really trying to do is undo the decrease. We're really trying to replace and rejuvenate back to a certain level. And that's an art, really, that requires a lot of communication. Now we're going to get there. But it deserves that type of compassion and respect.
I was listening to something the other day, and it was a doctor talking, and there's this trend going around on TikTok where they say, 5 things that I would do differently in my profession now that I'm in my profession. And I think her one thing was, she actually said 5 things that I would tell my patients now that I'm in this profession. And she said, which I thought was very profound, she was like, no symptom is a false symptom. Because I think something like that, it wasn't that exact thing, but she was basically saying, a lot of people say, oh, it's just in your head. It's just in your head. And she's like, well, if you're feeling something, while it may not be like the crazy anxiety thing that you think it is, but it's something. It could be mental, it could be physical, it could be something in your blood work, and to not be afraid to get it checked out, which is, I think you guys make it really easy to, kind of navigate your way through that fear, which is what I was talking about before, because before I came to you guys, I'm like, ugh, being a hypochondriac that I am, I'm like, oh God, like what's wrong? I'm like, I'm feeling all these pains. What's wrong? And ever since I started this process, my anxiety has gone down almost to nothing. I find myself driving in the car. And like I said, I'm always, like to have a good time, but I'm like in the car asking myself, like, why are you so fucking happy? Like, I just like say that to myself. And then I have to say in my head, I'm like, well, you made a lot of changes with your health. And obviously, my fitness, my nutrition, taking care of myself. But it all started with kind of being honest and saying, like, okay. And I'll share, like, one of the things I told you is my erections were not where I thought they should be. And it was very disconcerting to me. It wasn't horrible. Like, I could still have a good time, but I was just like, yo, I remember telling you that I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm telling somebody this. And like, this is so
No,
embarrassing.
I really appreciate, like, we need to know. And it's more common than you think. And then you start to go down that rabbit hole of, oh my gosh, I'm never going to be able to have sex again, and I'm getting old, and you face your own mortality, and oh my gosh, I'm going to get cancer, and everything's falling apart. It can get bad. Like, being a human can be hard, and then we have to age through it, right? So I totally get it. And that's why we really love what we do, because to see people like open up and say, hey, there's hope. It's going to be okay.
Yeah.
So I think it's wonderful that you've been open about it. I hope more people see it as a avenue to say, hey, aging's okay.
Yeah.
And the whole anti-aging, like, let's just age well. Aging is a pleasure that we get to have. We can't anti it. We can't stop it, but we can do it. We can do it really well.
I see some fine ass people that are like much older than me. I'm like, work? Like, that 35-year-old ain't got nothing on that 60-year-old. I want to jump to peptides, because a lot of people have no idea what we're talking about when we say peptides. Can you kind of explain the peptide thing and, the kind of the history of them really quick so people can understand?
Yeah, absolutely. So peptides are a shorter amino acid chain. Okay, that means it's got to be 50 amino acids chained together. Well, actually 49 or less. 50 would equal a protein, right? So, for example, insulin is a chain of 2 peptides, right? And what they do is they signal to your body to do stuff, right? That's all they do. They tell your body to do a certain function, whether that's increase a good level of this or stop producing a bad level of that, right? So they become more and more popular because I'll give you a very quick example, like human growth hormone, right? HGH. You were on a peptide, the CJC 1295 plus ipamorelin. And what that peptide does is it not only tells your pituitary gland to produce more of its own natural HGH, but also tells it to release it more. And so that way, we're just telling the body what to do best. Your body has always known how to make HGH, but as we age, we start to decline in production. So we're just kind of refiring that engine of your pituitary gland to give you a little bit more HGH signaling. So I think a great way to understand them is they're signaling peptides. And that's really where we specialize, and we use them a lot to help people feel better.
I want to explain people the process, because a lot of people, when they find out like, oh, I have to like take a needle or give myself a needle, it's so painless and super easy. And I think the CJC is the HGH, the one that releases the pituitary gland, correct?
Yep.
That's the one I still take. I still take it. I think the science of that is helping people understand that, like, how many amino acids equal protein. Like, I think that's really cool for people to understand, so they know that this is something that's creating a natural effect in their body. But taking that at night has definitely made a huge difference for me. I think definitely sleeping and just kind of winding down. I know this is how, Herzog Vitality Center can help people is I wish that people in the workplace or, spouses or friends, when people see people going through something, I wish they could look inside of their body like it's a glass. And every time that something's off, like, oh, I can see that you don't feel really good, or your cortisol level's really high, or you're not sexually sound, or you're really tired every day at 2:00. Like, I wish, because the only time we pay attention and give leeway to health matters is if there's a symptom of like sneezing, a fever, but they don't, like, there's these other things that's mentally and physical that's going on that people don't get a chance to see. And I wish that people could see that, because for me, compared to a year ago, I am a completely different, I'm the same human. It's just like, I try to look at the glass half full, but like I was living down here and now I'm living up here. Like I'm swimming in like this. It's so hard to explain, but it's just like, because about a year and 3 months ago, I actually called the CEO of Beachbody and I was like, I need time away from this. And it was minimal to do with them. I mean, I did just come off of a program, but it was a lot to do with the way I was feeling. And I was blaming other stuff for the way I was feeling. And really it was just normal stress, maybe some stress, but a lot of it was what was going on in my body. Anyway, I say all that to say, you guys have really helped me turn that around. It really started with y'all. So thank you. We talked about testosterone. I don't know, because you guys have a specific way of, giving people testosterone, but I think a lot of people know testosterone from shots, but you guys do the pellets. So I kind of want to get people to understand, like, oh, like there's cream, there's a shot you can put in your butt, but then there's like these little pellets that you put somewhere in your body, and like,
Yeah,
what?
absolutely. No, that's a great segue. But I do want to go back to for sure talk about BPC 157, because that is that healing miracle peptide that really helped you after your surgery. That one's just really cool. The BPC, once again, is a peptide chain of 15 amino acids. It's kind of derived from some gastric juices that you make in your digestive tract. And what it does is, it's called the Wolverine Peptide because when we inject it into the body, or let's say you have shoulder surgery, right, and you have a torn tendon, well, this thing just absolutely, not only anti-inflammatory, but it sends blood, it sends help to wherever you need it, times like a bajillion. And that's why they're calling it the Wolverine Peptide, because it's literally repairing tendons, ligaments, and muscle tears in much faster than you would on your own. And it's safe and easy. We're just signaling to the body, hey, send more help to this certain area. And so if you're struggling with an injury, sprained ankle, like whatever it is, you can expect a faster recovery with VPC 157. And it comes in two forms, which is the injectable, which you can, if you want, you would inject it around the site of your injury, or there's an oral supplement, which is obviously great for inflammation and sending help to anywhere along your digestive tract. So people with SIBO, IBS, so many of our issues derive from an unhealthy gut. It literally affects everything we do. It affects how much power we get from the cells. It affects how much our brain works. So BPC is really a miracle worker and really getting your gut healthy. And then on the other end, injuries. That's why we kept you on BPC for a few months, right? And that's the beauty of it, is you can recover quick and then you get off it, right? So that's why we wanted that for you. That was the original peptide that Melissa, sent you our way, because it's just great to get back on track, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And then the CJC and the ipamorelin to help build that muscle once that muscle's been healed. Then we want to build lean muscle mass.
That's really great, because a lot of people don't know about that, and they don't know that it is an option to have support to actually aiding your healing process. For me, I definitely was in physical therapy. I was training, I was stretching, I was icing, I was doing all the things. However, because I had a really slow protocol from my surgeon, he told everyone to go super slow. It was kind of frustrating, but I think he was just protecting my career, which I totally get. Even though I was going slow in the PT realm, there were a lot of people that's like, oh wow, like you're healing really fast, because I was on these peptides. And a lot of people were really happy when I told them I was doing them. All right, now we could talk about testosterone pellets, because when I would tell people that I had pellets in my body, they're like, what? And then, to be quite honest, some people are like, oh, why would you get the pellets when you have the shots or this? Like, there's all these like things. So I definitely wanted to give you a chance to help people understand why at Herzog you guys do provide this way of testosterone therapy as opposed to just the cream or the traditional ways.
The reason we do what we do is really, we want this to go as natural as possible. So I'm sure a lot of your listeners will be thinking, hey, I heard estrogen, testosterone hormones are not good for me, right? Cancer, especially women. It was said and assumed to be linked to like breast cancer. And that was derived from a study they did back in the early 2000s, the Women's Health Initiative. And those were done on hormones that were synthetic or not bioidentical, right? So there was a little something off in the molecular structure that was not identical to testosterone, estrogen, progesterone. So we believe the best way, the most natural way for you to get your hormones level up and for it to be the most seamless connection with your body so that your body recognizes it as its own, it can use it to the best of its ability, and you are safe from all those negative consequences. And that is bioidentical hormone replacement. I don't know what marketing guy came up with, we're just going to call it hormone pellets, but that's, if you're looking to find maybe someone in your area who's providing it, I would always go with bioidentical hormone pellets. That's what they're going to call it. Now the pellets is because it really is, it looks like a little tic tac, a little tiny thing that we insert subcutaneous under the skin around the hip area, or sometimes with men we do the upper flank. And there you're able to directly influence those organs, right? And that area where we need it the most. Over the course, for women, over the course of 3 to 4 months, you're going to be getting a steady dose of whatever we needed to give you, whether that's testosterone and estrogen or whatever it may be, but you're going to get a consistent dose so you're not up and downing it, right? And that's what we saw a lot with injections. Injections you're going to have to take a lot more frequently. Creams can be good for someone who's a little nervous about taking that jump, as long as they're bioidentical. I really would stress this a lot to your listeners. Please get bioidentical. We want to help the body. We want to replace what the body's left, but we want to do it with exactly what it lost, right? We don't want to tweak it with anything synthetic, right? So that's what I would do. For men, same process. It's just men can take in a lot more pellets at once because we're larger, and we only need to get pellets every 5 to 6 months.
Now, is it because we're larger, or do we carry more like natural muscle? And the reason why I ask that is because I go to the gym and there's some women who are like bigger than me. So I wanted to know, is that like a size and weight thing, or is it more of like a skeletal muscle thing when you talk about larger and needing more pellets?
Yeah, it's a little bit of both. Honestly, trying to put that many pellets in a female just wouldn't work. There's not enough room, right? It's just there's not.
Yeah, physically, kinetically, it's just not enough room.
Yeah. But men, we obviously need a lot more testosterone. Women need testosterone just as much, just on a lesser ratio.
Yeah.
Right. So men, we need a lot more, and that can sustain us over the course of 5 to 6 months. Whereas women, we just can't fit that many pellets in. So we got to have them come back every 3 to 4 months. So we do not offer injections at our practice. We do offer bioidentical creams, and we do offer the bioidentical hormone pellets, of course, with peptides, supplements, lots of good stuff to make you feel great.
Just even talking to other people on your team, like Shane, he's so incredibly, I feel like he should be a college professor when it comes to just pharmaceuticals. I mean, it's insane. Like and you know, what I really appreciate about you all is you really do check on your clients and your patients, and not just because I'm Shaun T. Like, I know you guys are like that with people. So with that said, you know, I want people to find out how to reach you guys. What's the best way to possibly get in contact? Because I know you said a little bit ago, you know, if you're getting certain things in your area, this is what to look for. But you all, I live in Arizona, you all live in Dallas, and there are still ways for me to work with you being in a different state. So I just want people to be able to find you and possibly get some assistance.
Yeah, thank you so much. So a really easy way is just go to our website, herzogvitalitycenter.com, and it'll pop up to request an appointment. And you can say what you're interested in, or I saw Shaun T's, please call me. I feel like I'm losing my mind. You're not losing your mind. It's just hormones. We're here to hear. Follow the same Instagram. I think it's Herzog_Vitality_Center. I typically will check that, and you can send us a message. If you're out of state, don't worry. We can still, and you're interested in peptides can be shipped out, and that's a really simple process that we do with a lot of people. And peptides are a great way to get kind of really fast relief, you know, from some of those symptoms. So we have the hormone side, and then we have the human growth hormone side, and that's kind of how we can help at least a little bit if we can't do the pellets. We do have people that fly in to get their pellets, but if you wanted to try the creams, we can take care of.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it. I do ask every guest one thing, and hopefully you can answer this question and how it pertains to your patients and how it pertains to what it is that you do to help people, you know, build their lives. But what is, if I walked into your office or your center and I said, I really need to trust and believe in myself, how would you answer that question?
It's all within you, and you're always enough. And sometimes our body gets depleted of some things naturally that can make us question that, but that shouldn't have anything to do with you inside, and that aging and these deficiencies your body have are easily addressable, and we're here to listen. We're here to help you achieve what you want to achieve, and we're going to help your body and mind be able to carry you there.
I think that's one of the best answers I've ever gotten. Yes, Jonathan. Well, everyone, we will put the website to Herzog Vitality Center in the show notes. They are also on Instagram. So, and Herzog is spelled Herzog. So,
no T.
Yes, no T. I was calling it Herzog. Yeah, just only Shaun T. Don't add a T to Herzog. Also, yeah, you can reach out to me. You guys know I check my DMs often. You can also send me a DM on Twitter. I think it's a little less crazy on Twitter, so you can send me a DM there. Facebook, I don't check messages because it's wild. But and then we also have our @TrustAndBelievePod Instagram page. So please let us know if you reach out to Herzog Vitality Center, and if you do, just say Shaun T sent me. Also, thank you, Jonathan. Thank you all so much, and continue to trust and believe. And if you feel like something's off, just go try to turn it on.